Who is Matt Rife? Can Matt Rife actually get canceled? Are his looks the only thing carrying him right now? Today, we're going to break down his Rizz based on actual interviews and the crowd work he has done. Hello, welcome to the channel. I am Professor Globe, where we discuss glowing up in every category. In this video, I'm going to do a Rizz breakdown of a celebrity. Today, we are going to break down Matt Rife. However you feel about him, or if he's actually cancelable, we are going to break down his Rizz by watching him in a few interviews and a few crowd work bits. We know he is a good looking dude, so I understand there's a large buffer from what he can and can't say, but I know we can also learn a lot from him and his subtle mannerisms he does with or without even realizing. And as a late bloomer myself, I know what it's like to have to rely on your humor young and you glow up into your looks later. Keep that in mind when you watch these clips. Our criteria on breaking down his Rizz is as follows: how much trust or respect they are creating, making whomever they are talking to become more comfortable and talk even more, their teasing, and their banter. Keep in mind that he likely has a persona in front of the camera compared to behind the scenes. People will say he is different, some will say he is the same, so we are just going to go off these interviews and these clips. Let's start with this clip with Dave Portnoy, where Portnoy talks about laughing with a good-looking comedian versus a bad-looking comedian. And notice how Matt changes the premise and creates more awareness and empathy and shows vulnerability.
The thing about eyeballs, right, is it's subjective. Like, some people find me fucking hideous, some people think I'm good looking, I guess. But if anybody cared to ask, I don't think I'm good looking at all. I look at people like an Austin Butler, Jason Elordi, a Brad Pitt. Like, these are traditionally attractive. Harry Styles, beautiful men. Yeah. I would never in a million fucking years think I could even stand next to those people. Well, I'm wildly insecure about my looks, and I think it's a very important emphasis to realize there's a huge difference as to how you see yourself versus how other people see you. And if that's all I ever fucking hear is shit about my looks, I go, okay, well, clearly other people think this. You have to acknowledge it, otherwise people would be like, oh, you're like pretending to be this humble thing, you know you're hot. It's like, fine, if you think this, I'll make fun of that, sure.
So you notice he is showing that he's massively insecure about his looks, and as a late bloomer myself, I know how it feels. Even if someone calls you good looking, you don't really believe it. You're looking at these people who've traditionally been good looking for a while. And then he goes meta with it and says, I'm just going to start making fun of it because that's what everyone keeps talking about. So he owns this. The next clip is from the same interview with Portnoy, where Portnoy asks him his hate and his insecurity and his jealousy towards the Paul brothers. And notice how, again, he brings meta, he brings philosophy and more awareness.
Like, I used to be such a jealous, bitter person because nothing would happen for me, and you eventually start to doubt yourself. Like, am I delusional? Maybe I suck. How are these people getting the things that I feel like I'm maybe good enough to be in the same positions? And then one day it just occurred to me that I go, these dudes are doing everything right.
So with that epiphany, he mentions they're actually very smart businessmen, and he applauds them rather than coming from a place of hate. And that can come with experience, but also having that statement alone, whereas Portnoy's trying to egg it on. And rather than just saying, yeah, I don't like them, he owns it and says, no, I had this epiphany. I came from a place of awareness and maturity, and this is what I believe now. And he owns that statement. And the next clip is from the Adam Ray podcast, where he's going to tell a very sweet story about his grandpa going to his comedy shows, followed by a hard break-in rapport.
And it was like, they were bringer shows. Yeah. Like, every person had to bring 5 people or sell 5 tickets. So what my grandpa would do is he would buy 5 tickets to make it seem like I brought 5 people.
Dude, that's unbelievable.
I know.
This is going to, by the way, this is your, when you go on The View or some show where women will already be swooning, that's the story.
And then I'll tell the story about how I bought him 2 pocket pussies in a row for Christmas.
To say thank you?
Yeah, well, he broke the first one.
All this push-pull you get, you love him more. If he kept going sweet, you'd feel very comfortable with him, but you wouldn't feel as drawn to him. That Rizz, if he didn't do a breaking rapport joke at the end of it, it would just be sweet the entire time. But him flipping it with the pocket pussy joke, you'll notice you're even more drawn to him. Now, this next clip is from the same podcast interview with Adam Ray. I want you to look at his facial expression and his body language after Adam shows him a vulnerable side to himself and his family as well.
I was like class clown, of course.
By the way, I was the same way. Family didn't even see that my mom was funny until probably the last 15 years when I started doing stand-up and started to see that she was a person and not a parent, and started to be like, oh, that's where I got definitely the chops from. But
you'll notice his eyes widen, he tilts his head, he gives an emphatic, really, like a tell me more. I want you to start doing this as well. This will give them to keep talking more, and before you know it, you'll be an amazing conversationalist, and you haven't said anything. The next clip is from the same podcast, and I want you to notice how the host says something that Matt agrees with. They are talking about feeling bad for Matt Rife after and before his glow up.
But nobody believes me.
Right, I hear
it's crazy. If you go down to the beginning of my Instagram, you'll be like, this is a different human
why do I feel
being.
bad for this guy, right?
Exactly. Nobody feels bad for me now.
So
notice how he emphatically says exactly, with his whole body going into it, his eyes lighting up, he's smiling. I want you to always do this. When someone says something that you like, you have to reward and say, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. What else do you think about that? Then they're going to talk even more. Remember this in your next conversation. In the next clip from Pod Crushed, notice how the host relates to Matt and tells his own story. And then notice how Matt reacts to his story.
Sounds to me like you probably did not have great models for relationships growing up.
No.
I also include myself in that category, by the way. Like, my parents divorced, had a very tough relationship. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very common, but like my parents, it was a very, very, very toxic. And and I think what I'm realizing I've now been with my wife, not married to her the entire time, but as long as this period you're describing, like 10 years ago was when we met, just about. Just about, yeah.
And how much have you grown since then?
Oh my goodness. I mean, well, what I've learned about relationships and like the true nature of love in a long-lasting, committed relationship, and then that extra thing that somehow happens when you get married.
Similar to the last one, he responds with intrigue and emphasis, and then asks an unlimited question in how much have you grown since? And it opens the floodgates on the host to even give him more information. Remember this next time you're talking to someone and they give you a lot of information. Say, no way. How much have you grown since then? And they're going to tell you even more of a life story. Let me know down below what other nuances you notice he does and what other celebrities you'd like me to do. And if you're liking this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe. A large reason he has become famous is his crowd work that has gone viral on TikTok and YouTube. Now, whether you think his jokes are funny, there are some concepts to be learned. And also, watch how he reacts to when a joke goes well and when it doesn't. Look at his body language, look how he carries himself. Study this. I want you to see just how fast he sends the tease back or uses misdirection. Now let's break down some of his teasing and how he owns an off-color joke. Notice how Matt walks in and the host, Sherry, introduces him to a few young girls in the crowd, and he makes a joke saying they should be in school.
You say hi to my 19-year-old fan. She loves you so much.
Shouldn't y'all be in school? All right, only
Me think somebody took off a school.
Now that lightens the room up, at least his first joke, but then he throws in the OnlyFans joke at the end, and you can hear a couple oohs in the back. Look how unreactive he is, and his body language is facing towards Sherry. He didn't show any signs of remorse on why he said that joke. He's just on to the next part of the interview. Later in the interview, he makes an even more off-color joke. Notice how the crowd reacts. Notice how the host reacts. And then notice how he reacts.
I'm from Ohio. I had Ohio teeth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we would brush our teeth with fentanyl. It was not great. Yeah, I know.
It's self-deprecating, but using fentanyl as the punchline of the joke is quite risky. And you can hear the O's in the back, but then he owns it and says, I know. And then that makes everyone laugh. So he really saves himself from a pretty off-color joke. Now let's break down a crowd work video. Notice in this one, they suggest a strip club that Matt should go to, and then the girls scream, and notice how he uses a great joke, a misdirection joke, and notice what happens.
Diamonds? Oh, you guys work there? Do you really? Oh, valet?
The misdirection of valet. That's everyone was expecting. She's a dancer at the strip club. and Valet isn't known for the looks, right? So the punchline is pretty obvious, and everyone thought it was funny. It was perfect. Now the next clip is from the same crowd work. Notice how she gives her stripper name and how Matt uses that to a great joke, and he brings a sexual undertone.
You have a fun stripper name?
Yeah, it's Ivy.
Like Poison Ivy? Because dudes be leaving your lap dances itching.
So he clearly knows Poison Ivy is a superhero. Probably not that it leaves the man's lap itching, but that was a great punchline, and it was a great way to bring a suggestive sexual undertone, which I think a lot of us can learn from because we can be a little too nice, right? And we don't know how to bring sex into the conversation. This is a way to do that. Overall, I rate his trust and or comfort a solid 7.7 out of 10. Of course, his teasing is amazing. It's an 8.7 out of 10. And banter, based strictly on that crowd work, is a 9.1 out of 10. Matt has great Rizz due to learning that timing and a strong banter, then glowing up into his looks and bringing it all together. Now I want you to learn from this and apply it to your banter. If you want to know how to overcome those nice guy traits like I mentioned earlier, make sure to check out that video here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see